You are listening to episode 32 of the Lewis and Kyle Show with Ivan Yee.
Pulled the all-nighter the night before to write an exam that I didn't study for, and then I posted a tweet the next day. I'm like trying to put together a sentence, string together a sentence to like write the whole post for the SNAP page, and then it's like blown up, right? I'm like, what is going on right now, right? And it just goes super viral like immediately. I'm like flabbergasted. I call my boys. I'm like, yo, you guys all need to come here right now. I'm having a life moment.
Hello and welcome to the Lewis and Kyle Show, an interview podcast where Lewis and I are sharing tools for success in entrepreneurship, investing, self-education, and fitness through interviews with inspiring mentors.
Ivan was a super fun guest to have on the show because he tells us his incredible story of how he wanted his dream job and was able to recruit the help of the YouTube channel Yes Theory to help make that a reality. He wanted to be an intern for the gaming and lifestyle company 100 Thieves and thought, if I'm going to make this happen, I'm going to have to get creative. In the interview, we talk about how we got on the YouTube channel, what it was like working with the guys at Yes Theory, and we get into, what happened from that experience. We also dive into some tips for networking in general and some of Ivan's thoughts about careers. I hope you all enjoy it. With that, I'm going to cut right to it. Alrighty, Ivan, thank you so much for coming on with us. I'm super hyped to chat with you.
What's up, guys?
Pleasure to have you on. Watched you on that Yes Theory video and said, you know what, I want to hear the full story. How'd he get on? What's he doing now? Like, where's the behind the scenes? A huge Yes Theory fan and liked your energy in that video. Just wanted to learn a little bit more about the way you think and what's going on in your life. So quickly for the listeners, could you plug us in on where you are right now, kind of what you've done since that video came out, and a little bit about your current situation?
Yeah, of course. My name is Ivan Yee. I'm a recent grad from the University of Western Ontario up here in Canada. Born and raised in Toronto, and that's where I am right now while figuring out what I want to do for my next role. I'm a huge passion in the gaming, creator, and new media space. And after that whole Yes Theory adventure, that really solidified that's where I want to be for the next short term of my life. And currently looking at a couple opportunities that I've sourced from Twitter. So very exciting that I can speak on a bit later, but just happy to dive in and talk about Yes Theory, opportunities that I've had in the past 6 months, and what's the outlook, hopefully, of my life in the next 3 to 5 years. I don't know. I don't really plan that far ahead, but I got an idea of where I want to be. So
definitely, man. Well, episode 19 was with my APS history teacher talking about the pandemic, and he said no good historian projects more than 6 months in advance, just because the world's too uncertain.
That's what I like to live by.
And things change too much. So yeah, it's the sweet spot. But like you're saying about the opportunities you sourced on Twitter, that's going to be a cool piece of this conversation when we get there, kind of your strategy and advice for Twitter for networking, because you kind of seem to have thought through that game a little bit. But let's start at the beginning. Like you said, you're very interested in this new media space, the gamer creator space. Who is 100 Thieves? Kind of what motivated you to work for them? What's your backstory with gaming, with that specific company? Because that's what the whole point of that video was about, was trying to get a job with that dream company.
Yeah, for sure. So 100 Thieves is a gaming, media, and apparel brand started by an ex-pro Call of Duty player. His name is Matthew Haig, but he goes by Nadeshot. This guy, he's been creating content and competing in Call of Duty for like 10 years now. He retired like several years ago, but ever since I was in like the 7th grade, I've been following this guy because I'm a huge Call of Duty nerd. I played a lot for like 4 years straight, only game that I played. And when I started watching competitive Call of Duty, like this is one of the guys that was performing at the highest level and winning a lot and had a huge fan base. And I'm like, wow, this guy's super cool. Like, guy working full time at McDonald's and trying to make this happen. And then he's gaining traction, making content on the internet, competing and getting money at playing video games at a very high level. I'm like, wow, this is an amazing story. Hopped onto that story, watched him for a lot. And then I kind of stopped playing Call of Duty and stopped playing video games in just like in middle high school. Like people usually, like as school picks up or, you get a girlfriend or you get a job, like you just have less time for video games. But I've always kept in touch with the scene because I just thought it was super cool, and it was just an interest that I've had for all my life. And then basically this guy Nadeshot, he continues competing, wins a bunch of money, gets a bunch of subscribers, like I don't know, he's at 3 mil whatever right now, and he retires, and then he starts making content like a regular YouTuber, making money, and then he goes and starts this company called 100 Thieves, and it's quickly gains traction. He gets like a lot of investments from like reputable dudes like Dan Gilbert, owner of the Cavs, Scooter Braun, Drake. And then he raises a shit ton of money and he's like super prominent in the esports scene again. And I'm like, yo, this company is literally the amalgamation of everything that I like in terms of like streetwear, esports / gaming, and like creator media stuff. Why am I not working for this guy? So that was around like last year, first semester. So around like October or September. And I'm like, man, I got to make something happen and I got to work for this guy. And ever since then, I've been like obsessed with trying to get in.
At that point in your life, you're about a year older than me. So you graduated school this past spring.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so that was in the fall of your senior year where you're kind of like,
Correct.
okay, I'm about to be out of the bubble of school and I need to get a job. And this is perfect company, perfect environment, combination of all my interests. So what are some avenues you tried for getting a job, getting an internship?
Yeah, for sure. So as a like typical business kid, like most of my peers or most of the people like just at business school, like the most prestigious jobs are like, finance or some tech jobs or consulting jobs, like right out of grad, trying to make that quick money or big money rather. And a lot of those methods are very streamlined in the sense where you either cold email or reach out on LinkedIn, go get an interview or attend a recruiting session and go through that entire process. And that's like the SOP or like the standard order of procedure that all the business kids are pushed down. So naturally I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go on LinkedIn. I'm gonna find the emails of all these people and just try to reach out, see if they have job postings, turn on job alerts and do all that. And I tried that for like a month, nothing, right? Nothing at all. I'm like hounding every single person on LinkedIn, like getting very, very little traction. I'm like, man, this is not going to work, right? Like these guys are not your traditional, finance boutique or something. They're not actively recruiting grads at business schools. Like, how am I going to get in touch with them? So I'm like, okay, a lot of these guys are gamers. A lot of these guys have a huge online presence that is not LinkedIn. So why don't I go to where they spend most of their attention on a day-to-day basis outside of work, which is either A, YouTube, B, Twitch, or C, Twitter, right? And I really landed on Twitter because I have no presence on YouTube. I don't have any subscribers, no clout. Okay.
Sure.
B, I don't stream. I don't know how to stream. But C, like Twitter, anybody can really create a presence on Twitter by adding value to an audience or just interacting with people that you want to reach out to. So I'm like, okay, Twitter is the way to go. And I started chipping away and I started seeing some traction there.
All right. So at what point, so you realize that, there's no well-charted path. If we're going to get into The Third Door by Alex Manan a little bit on, there's no clear first door for well-charted path to getting a job at a brand new company that's whole value prop is not being a traditional company. There's no pipeline. There's no interviews that lead to internships that lead to jobs and the steady 4-year cycle of people retiring and needing to hire. There's not that standard business cycle. So what happened once you tried using Twitter? Were you successful there? Or at what point do you think you need to recruit help from another organization?
Yeah, so I found a little bit of success, right? Like I didn't really have a streamlined way at first. I'm like, hey, I just want to build a presence and like try to get a bit of attention and see if that works before like thinking of something else. So I looked up like the most active people on Twitter at the org, right? There's this one guy, he was like a investor in the org, and he tweeted a lot about the industry, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna turn on tweet notifications for this guy. Every single time he tweets something like insightful that I think I have an opinion on or I can add value to, I'm gonna shoot a reply and say some shit that adds value to his like 30K followers, and hopefully he like likes it or notices it, and it's like, oh yeah, but like let me interact with this guy because he has a good point, right? So I saw a little bit of traction from that. I try to like take that from a public angle and like transition into DMs, and like I found a little bit of success, but I didn't. At that rate, I'm like, man, like this is a lot of work. How do I get more attention on me, right? I felt like I was climbing an uphill battle where I'm like chipping away at attention, where like everybody was replying to this guy's tweets or like these people's tweets, right? Like I'm just a guy with like 20, 30 followers, like I'm a nobody, right? How do I really add value to this guy? So I thought of an idea. I'm like, man, I might as well just like full send it and like try to make something viral. I didn't know what that was, so I proposed a challenge to myself that I wanted to chip away on. I dubbed it like 100 days to 100 thieves challenge, where I'd spend
cool.
100. Yeah, I'd spend like 100 days, and not necessarily every single day I'd put out content, but within a 100-day period, I was going to set the goal to get a meeting with 100 thieves. And the point of the challenge was that I was going to go on Twitter and I was going to put out content. I was going to try to interview people in the scene that are related to 100 Thieves, like esports, maybe streetwear and media, and try to get some insights, write some medium articles, do some other viral videos and breakdowns and stuff, be active on the Reddit and do all that, and just put it all on Twitter. And hopefully I'll cultivate an audience, and one piece of content might hit, and I'll get the attention, right? So I started chipping away at that.
At what point in the story do you see this Yes Theory like Instagram highlight? Is that what it was? Like an Instagram story where they're like, send us or email us your story and we want to help you. Like, is that earlier on in this 100 days? Is that before or after?
So
Yeah.
It's great that you mentioned that, because it's crazy. When I was like, okay, literally there was a point where I'm like, this shit isn't working. Like, me just replying to people's tweets is not working. Although I feel like it will work, right? Like, I'm adding value, but like it's not working fast enough for me. So I like one night after the shower, I forget what triggered that thought, but I just started writing down this plan, and I'm like, wow, this is like, I'm a genius, man. This is gonna work, right?
Yeah.
And like I'm like planning it all out and like write it down, and like literally 2 days later, Yes Theory puts out that post, right? And
what's the post? So I've missed this piece of the story.
Yeah, no. So Amar goes on his Instagram. Amar's one of the guys from Yes Theory, and he's like, yo, we want to help a subscriber land their dream job, right? So I'm like, wait, what is the universe saying right now, right? I'm like, what is going on? Like, this is the law of attraction or whatever, because I wrote this down. I don't know, some voodoo shit. So he's like, yo, we're going to help a subscriber land their dream job. Just email us, pitch us, and say, he didn't even say pitch, or just email us and tell us why what your dream job is, where you're located, why you think you're the best fit for this job, and if you haven't applied for this job yet, why not, right? And I'm like, yo, this is sick. But a bit of backstory, I remember telling you guys in our initial call. So I've actually had a touch point with Yes Theory before this, 2 years back. So it didn't really contribute. I mean, it kind of did, but okay, let me just jump into it. Pretty much 2 years ago, young business kid, trying to just hustle and, be a keener. I was part of this business conference at our school. So we were inviting speakers to talk. It was about entrepreneurship. And then we invited this guy from Shopify to come talk. Shopify is like the biggest Canadian tech company. Like, it's like Canada's Google, if you want to say. At the time, we invited this guy. He was like a senior sales dude at Shopify, right? Like, we really wanted to come in and just give us some like lessons of like early career and stuff like that. And this guy came in. I was in charge of like introducing him and like being his guy like throughout the whole day. He's like, yo, I'm actually quitting Shopify.
Nice.
In like a week, and I'm about to move to LA and manage these guys called Yes Theory. So I'm like, okay, I've never heard of Yes Theory before, like whatever, right? And then I went home after that and like searched them up. They're at 700K at the time, right? But this guy ended up being Zach. So he's the manager of Yes Theory currently. And he told his story. He's like, yo, do you still want me to talk about Shopify? I mean, like, I'm quitting. I'm like, yo, talk about whatever you want, man. And then he just went in, he talked about his time at Shopify. He talked about why he's making the jump from a really high paying job on like doing like putting that all behind him and like making the jump and doing like and starting a company in LA, like with no network and anything like that, and just taking the dive. I'm like, wow, this is inspiring. This is so sick, right? So he ends up making the jump. I keep in contact with this guy for a while. I was so inspired by his story. I ended up writing like a Medium article about him, like did a little interview, and then like he's helped me loosely ever since then. And that was 2 years ago. And then when this opportunity with Yes Theory came up, I'm like, yo, Zach, this is insane, because he always preaches about like law of attraction, because he had a crazy story too.
For us, for the people who aren't familiar with it, law of attraction.
Define it? Yeah, for sure. So I'm not too familiar with it, but I think what it is.
The basic idea, obviously, it's not scientific.
Yeah, it's like
we're getting into the quantum realm 10 minutes in here, but
no, quantum realm, bro. No, like when you put something into the universe by like writing it down or telling somebody like an idea, it's more likely to happen. Whether that be like it's accountability because you told somebody or you shared your idea or whatnot. If you like tell somebody, it's more likely to happen. If you write it down, it's more likely to happen because I don't know. It's just through that, right? And Zach really believed in this. And I'll remember he put a story out like one day and he's like, yo, this law of attraction shit is crazy, because yesterday night, me and and one of the yesterday guys were talking about it. And then I wrote down all my goals for like whatever, just law of attraction, haha, right? And his top goal was like have Scooter Braun mentor me. And then the next day, Scooter Braun responds to like their email that they've been trying to reach out to him for like months, and he got a meeting with them, right? And then he's like, literally, like it was crazy. It was like that story was so funny because like he put the story up the night before about saying writing his goal down, and he like took the camera and like put it over his goals, and then like nothing happened, right? And then the next day he's like, "Yo, this happened," right? So it was just insane. So like when that opportunity with yesterday came up with the story, I'm like, "Yo, Zach, I know you always talk about law of attraction, or like you've talked about it before, and like this is like funny."
Now it's my turn.
I literally wrote this down, right? So I didn't even ask him. I'm like, "Yo, don't like." I didn't ask him to plug me, right? I didn't feel right. I was like, I just want you to look at this and see what you think, right? Like, I'm not asking for you to like send this to the S3 boys, tell them to pick me or whatever. I'm like, "Yo, just look at this." And then I type out my whole plan, right? And he's like, "Oh, this is pretty sick, right? You put some thought into this. Let me forward to the boys and see what they think." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm so grateful, right? That's awesome. Like, if you forward to them, you're their manager, they're probably going to see it. I don't know if they'll pick me, but whatever, right?" So that happens. 2 months later pass by. Nothing, no response from yesterday. I'm like still planning this thing by myself. I have a bunch of content like piled up. I'm like ready to launch it and put it all on Twitter, right? And start the 100 days. Then yesterday hits me up. They're like, "Ivan, you still want to do this?"
Well, back up
like,
a second.
Yeah.
What happened? Did you get an email? Did you just get a cold call from? I saw one video where they threw a party for a subscriber in like Seattle, and they just FaceTime. They just you put your email, your phone number on the email, and they just hit you with a FaceTime, and the kid answered on the toilet. How did they reach out to you?
That would have been sick. No, it was through an email.
Okay.
But it's funny because I was with my boy at his house, like nice Christmas dinner with his family, right? And then I just get this email and I start screaming, right? And it's like Mom, Dad, Grandpa was there around and they're like, "What was this guy like? What's this guy?
What is he?
I'm like,
who invited him?
Like, right? And I couldn't say anything because like I was just so in disbelief, so in shock. I initially thought it was like I subscribed to like their email newsletter, and I just thought it was their email newsletter because like it's Matt that usually sends it out, and I got like email from Matt. I was like, "Oh yes, sir, another
another false flag."
But it said like dream job application, right? I'm like, wait, I think I applied to that like 2 months ago. And then so that was an amazing moment. I'll never forget that. And I remember like the next day I DM Zach.
So
like,
what does the email say?
Man, it was a very like chill email. It was like, "Hey Ivan, we'd like to make this happen potentially." So it wasn't 100%, but they seemed pretty set on it. He's like, "Yo, are you still interested?" That's how he ended the email, right? And I'm like, "Duh, what do you mean?" Right? So that happened, and the day after, I messaged Zach. I'm like, "Dude, I don't know what you did behind the scenes, but thank you. Like literally, thank you. Like I don't know what to say." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Okay, you're joshing me, bro. Like what do you mean? What are you talking about, right?" And he's like, "Oh, the job application. I literally forgot to forward your email like months ago. I'm like,
drop the ball, bro. My bad."
I'm like, "Are you lying? Stop. Like he jokes like that, right?" I'm like, "You're lying, right? Like there's no way." And he's like, "No, like your email was just really, really good." And like never to this day, I don't know if I believe him. Like let's say like he didn't, but man, it was insane. I guess they didn't really expect, like even in the video they said like, "Oh, they got a lot of emails with cool dreams and stuff," but I really had like a plan that I put together that I wanted to do, that I was actually actively executing. And whether or not he forwarded the email or not, and he's like, "Yeah, like I didn't want to forward the email because like if I did, like they might be less likely to choose you because like you're like, oh, it's one of Zach's boys, right? Like whatever, right?" But
I think that one of my favorite parts of the video is actually in reference to you having, put some rubber on the road in terms of trying to get to 100 Thieves. And they say it in an analogy. They say like when you're stuck on the side of the road and you're just trying to flag people down, like it's very difficult to get someone to pull over, but you start pushing your car, you put it in neutral, people are going to start pulling over left and right to help you out. And that's something that I applaud you for, is you had to have made that plan. You had to have known what you wanted. You had to have written this plan out. Like we already talked about your 100-day plan that you had to 100 Thieves. It's like if you hadn't put that initiative in, none of this would have ever happened for you. So that's amazing.
Yeah, no, and for sure I've felt that through the entire journey, right? Like jumping a little bit ahead here, but like when I put that tweet out, it's the same concept, right? And like I really started to understand that, like the viral job app tweet, like everybody's like, "Hey, like we'll offer you a job, like let me know if I can help or anything like that." I'm like, wow, either people are really, really nice and they love me or something like that. I don't know what happened, or just like they just saw a kid that's like trying to do something and he's actually doing it So like they want to help, which is amazing. And I mean, throughout your career, and like I haven't even started my career, right? But just like early career, like as a student, reaching out to like people and saying like, hey, I'm really interested in this. This is what I've done so far, right? By telling them that like, oh, you're actively working towards something, like people just want to help you more. And I think that's amazing.
Yeah, I completely agree. So we did get off there, but let's bring it right back.
Yeah.
You've got me hooked in the middle of the story, and I wanna keep going.
For sure.
Hopefully listeners feel the same way. So they say yes. You reply to the email. Yes, of course. I still want the job. I'm not working at 100 Thieves. You're Yes Theory. I'm Ivan. Let's do some business. I write plot summaries in one sentence, and that was my plot summary. What happens? So like fly out to LA. You respond to the email. You have your Christmas day. Where are we at now?
So we confirmed things in February. They're like, hey, we'll fly you out, put you in Airbnb for a week, and then like we'll come here and make things happen. There wasn't too much of a plan, right? Like the goal was just to make a viral job application, or make the world's greatest job application. We didn't even think about going viral yet, right? So like no plan. We jumped, like the goal was to get to 100 Thieves, but there's no plan to get there yet. But so I hop on a plane, I get there, I meet all the boys. It was amazing. Like these guys are like one of my favorite creators, and just meeting them in real life and getting to shoot the shit with them, like just talk and like, get to know them better. Like they're exactly like how they are on camera. They're just so down to earth and amazing. And we immediately start brainstorming and talking about like the plan, right? And we talked about my idea like earlier about the 100 days thing, right? And using Twitter as a thing, and like they really like that. So we settled on like I think we talked about like, I don't know, I've seen on LinkedIn like before, like some guy buy like a billboard and then saying like, hey, I'm unemployed, but here's my resume, right? Like I spent my last $700. I don't know if that's true. He's like, this guy spent his last like $700 on a billboard or something like that, and then he got like 1,000 like emails. And I'm like, why don't we do something like that, but like on Twitter? You know what I mean? Like something like very big, viral, like in your face thing. And they're like, okay, yeah, that's cool, right? So we kind of settled on that, and then they're like, yo, we want you to meet this guy. We think he's like the perfect like thing for you to like just get advice from right now, like just to like bounce ideas off. And then we went to Alex Benayan.
That's nuts.
Yeah. So pretty much like Alex, for the listeners that don't know, like he's an author of this amazing book called Third Door, and he pretty much like summary of the book, like he wanted to write a book where he interviewed like the most successful people in the world, like Bill Gates, Lady Gaga, like Steven Spielberg, all these guys. And pretty much the book transformed into a 3-year, or I think it was a 3 or 4 year journey of him just hustling and trying to get these interviews. Like the book isn't even a collection of interviews. The book is literally a story of his 3 years of like ups and downs and miseries and highs and lows of just trying to make this happen, right? And like definition of hustling, we meet him, he tells me a story, I tell him my story, and he's like, yo, that's sick. We can definitely make this happen, right? And he's like, yo, read these chapters in my book and like do a bunch of work, like pull all-nighter and get to know Nadeshot, the CEO of the company, better than his girlfriend by the end of tomorrow. I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm doing it. Let's go, right?
Real quick, I wanna interject a small piece of this story, real quick.
Yeah.
So the book's a little bit more significant for this episode of this podcast than you might realize, because Kyle and I in episode 4 share the 5 books that shaped us. I shared my 5 favorite books. Kyle shared his 5 favorite books. And one of those books that Kyle shared was The Third Door by Alex Benayan. Kyle's been telling me to read it for years. And then I guess that episode was the time that it finally clicked that I should read it. So I went out that weekend, bought the book, read the whole thing in one sitting, as you did, and as everyone who I've recommended the book to has read. And then obviously, as one does, followed Alex on Twitter and LinkedIn and everywhere else. And then I'm not a big YouTube guy. I mean, I enjoy it. I put videos on there, but I try not to use it because it's too much fun and I spend way too much time on there. So I follow Alex Benayan on LinkedIn, and I see him because, he's a dream guest of Kyle and I's for the podcast. Mm-hmm. And so I try to, as you've been doing, interact with his content on LinkedIn, share it, promote it, add interesting comments. And that's where I saw the video of you. He said, check out this awesome project I worked on where we helped the subscriber from Yes Theory get their job. I'm like, I love Alex. I love Yes Theory. Let me watch this. I saw that video of you from Alex's LinkedIn only because I had read that book. And then since I'd watched the video, loved your story, reached out to you. We're only here today having this conversation because of that book. So I just felt like that was a necessary piece of the story to us.
That's awesome.
Only because I saw Alex on LinkedIn, because Kyle on episode 4 told me to read that book. Are we meeting, having this conversation, learning from you? So
I only read that book because of Ali Abdal's video on YouTube. I brought it on my iPhone, read it in one sitting.
That guy's awesome too. Yeah, that book is just insane. Disclaimer: like none of us are sponsored by him. Like we just love the book so much.
Yeah.
But I think it's just so relatable to us as students that are just trying to like hustle and like do all that jazz, right? Because it's like our definition of hustling is like, at least for me, like at least like a year ago or like during my undergrad career, is like, oh, just go reach out to people on LinkedIn, add value, do all that. And I still do that to this day. But reading Alex's story when he was a student, as a student, and seeing him do everything that we did, but literally on steroids, and then on crack, and then like on every single like enhancement drug. It's just
on hi-fi mud.
And yeah, all I don't even know what that is, but in 3 years for him to do all that and to see the struggle was just so relatable. It wasn't like your typical book preaching you to do this, do that. It was like, yo, this guy like crawled through the mud, and he didn't come from nothing, but he didn't come from like everything, and it was just so relatable. So
let's say you spent, an hour a week on your job search, networking, creating opportunities for yourself, right? Like, what if you could spend that hour a week doing what everyone else is doing? Cold DMs on LinkedIn, cold emails, trying to get coffee with people in your industry, reading a book or two. Or you could spend that same amount of time doing something unconventional, putting yourself on YouTube, writing articles on Medium. Like, it's the same amount of effort, but being different is just going to give you such a disproportionate. I mean, by being different, you're going to be different. And that's the only, you're going to get people's attention. And it's a good sidebar a little bit there, but you were recommended to read The Third Door, which we all love, by Alex himself. So you read it.
You pull your all-nighter. You learn everything
whole
about
book.
Nadeshot.
You're at the Yes Theory compound.
What do you do next?
Learned all about Nadeshot. What happens?
Yeah, I'm like super low on sleep, and then I do like a little presentation to the guys. I'm like, okay, this is what I know. Like, it was fun too, because like I was rewatching a lot of old videos with tidbits. I'm like, I remember watching this like 6 years ago. This is crazy, right? And then I just tell the Yes Theory boys, okay, this is like everything about this guy. Here's what I think, like the facts that we can put in the video, or like little tidbits that we put in the video that he'd appreciate, and things that he might value and I think is important. And then we start hammering out the script, right? And then I work alongside with them. I'm like, we should put this in, this fact and that fact, and it's just more relatable and like shows him that I'm actually a fan and that I'm actually, been following his journey for a long time. And then we slap together this great script with all these tidbits and like a pitch pretty much of myself to him, right? And then we ended up filming the video. That was an amazing process. Like, world-class guys, their team is amazing. Yes Theory, right? They everything that I wanted to do in a video, they just amplified it and made it so good.
And we'll link to that. If you haven't paused this already to watch the Yes Theory video, we'll put that whole thing here. It's a great companion to this episode to actually know what we're talking about.
For sure. And then we were supposed to release the video on my Twitter like during the same week, but the 100 Thieves team, we found out they were in like Paris for like Paris Fashion Week or doing something, and they wouldn't be back until like the week after. So yeah, so was like, hey, why don't you go home, make this go viral, or like post it on Twitter when you're at home, and then once it blows up, hopefully we'll bring you back here and we'll get a meeting and we'll figure everything out and get you signed and like finish the whole story, right? So I ended up going home and I'm like, okay, it's time to make this go viral, baby, right? And the precursor to this, Yes Theory didn't want to, like, while this whole story was panning out online, Yes Theory didn't want to put their name attached to it. They just wanted to step into the picture at the very end when I got that meeting with the 100 Thieves or like whatever, and be like, hey, like, by the way, like we helped this guy too, right? But they wanted to show or tell a story by saying that, like, hey, if you have an idea for a great job, or like if you have a dream job, right, just go get a group of friends, like create something great and add value to the company, and like, anybody can do it. Here's like a kid who had an idea and we helped them by giving them that little push and give them the right resources to do this. Anybody can do this as well. Obviously, I don't want to discount the fact that this is Yes Theory helping me, like the best in the world, right? Like, just admit, like, I'm still so grateful to the end of the day, but
yeah, but they didn't want to put their clout behind it at the very beginning, and then it just all became them. It had to be about you.
I think that's
what you
exactly. No, you said it in a better way. No, for sure. It's like they could have easily been like, hey, at 100 Thieves, like, we know Scooter Braun. Scooter Braun's a co-owner. We vouch for this guy. Zach knows this guy like from 2 years ago. Been hustling for him like a minute. Just hire him, right? And then like probably I would have at least gotten a meeting or a reference or like something, right? Because like, they just know each other. But they're like, nah, we don't want to do that. obviously we need to make a video, so we're not going to do that.
That'll be a short video.
Yeah, that'd be a 2-minute video. Oh, yeah, by the way, you know our friend Ivan? Yeah, go hire him. Okay, done. No. So pretty much I went home. I'm like, okay, how do I make this go viral, right? I'm like, okay, I have the 6-step plan. I'm going to post it on Twitter, right? And then immediately get like 30 friends of my closest friends to retweet it and like it to get the snowball rolling, just to get it circling around the different networks, right? And then I was going to make a post on the S3 Facebook group. They have like a group of 100K-ish members. It's like the 1,000 true fans. And I was going to post and say like, hey, I have this thing, would love to make my dream come true, and like would love if you guys would support it, right?
Because
so that would have gotten
in the pitch, right? Like there's no evidence that Yes Theory is your camera crew or anything. Like it's just you.
No. Yeah,
so you could have just been to the 1,000 true fans in that Facebook group. You're just a super go-getting fan of Yes Theory.
I'm just
like,
yes
hey guys, you're just a Yes fan. I went out and made this video with my own resources. Like, can you help me share it to get the attention of Nadeshot?
Yeah.
So there's still no evidence of Yes Theory at this point.
Yeah, it's funny because like I remember like a little anecdote. Like the boys were like, "Yo, should we?" In the very last scene of the video, like everybody's like lifting me up, saying like screaming, "Hire Ivan, hire Ivan!" And they're like, "Yo, should we just like low key like blend into the crowd right there?"
Yeah,
and,
just Yes Theory happens to be the extras you found that day.
Yeah, they're like, "Nah, no, like just in case, like someone's gonna watch and be like, oh, is that Yes Theory?" Like, okay, but I thought that would be pretty funny. But no, like, yeah, no touch point whatsoever at that point. So I was gonna do that, and then I was gonna like post to my Facebook, LinkedIn, like Instagram, like just my extended network to see if they would reshare it. And then I was gonna like post it on like Reddit, on like the League of Legends Reddit and like the like 100 Thieves Reddit to like just to get a lot of traction, right? So all I did was post on Twitter, and got my friends to reshare it. And I'm like typing up all my other posts, right? Like my email to Nadeshot, like the post for 100 Thieves, like the Yes fan page. And then this thing just starts exploding.
Step one was good enough.
And I'm like, I'm still at this point, like I'm running on, like, by the way, I'm running on zero sleep because I had to like defer 2 exams to go to LA, right? I told them I was sick, whatever. And then
that's some third order right there too.
Pulled the all night, yeah, literally like that guy. But pulled the all night the night before to write an exam that I didn't study for, and then I like posted a tweet the next day. I'm like trying to string together a sentence to like write the whole post for the SNAP page, and then it's like blown up, right? I'm like, what is going on right now, right? And it just goes super viral like immediately. I'm like flabbergasted. I call my boys. I'm like, yo, you guys all need to come here right now. I'm having a life moment. And they all Ubered over right away. They're like, yo, what the hell is going on? Like, what? Like, we all just sat in the room, like my small, college room. They're like, yo, what is going on? So Nadeshot responds, the CEO, in like an hour saying like, yo, I'm on a plane right now. I'm going to watch this as soon as I land. We'll get in touch. And I'm like, bro, what? And through that, like, I'm like, man, I know I don't have the job yet, but this is crazy, right? Like the feelings that I'm feeling right now, I'll never forget for the rest of my life. And I'm getting like offers from DMs from other companies and stuff, and people that are like, yo, like we support you, like let me know, like people that I look up to in the industry and like beyond that are like, hey, if you need help, I'll help you, like just reach out, right? I'm like, wait, this is crazy. Like I've been watching these guys for years and I've been following them on Twitter and like looking up to them, and now like they're all like, yo, we want to help you. I'm like, what? Like why, right? So that was super cool. And man, like it's I don't know if I can ever recreate that viral moment. It was just amazing. And yeah, at the same time, I'm talking yesterday, like, wow, this is insane. Like what is going on right now? They're super stoked. Like Alex called me. He's like, yo, what the hell, So that was awesome.
What happens when he lands and eventually watches the video himself?
I guess he just watched the video. He himself doesn't get back to me. I mean, he's a talent streamer and does a lot of things. But eventually someone from 100 Thieves reaches out, and it's funny because this guy I've been trying to get in contact with for a minute too, one of the main guys, and we ended up chatting and having some conversations over Zoom like 3 or 4 times, and just talking about like, hey, like what's going on here, like sick video, what do you want to do at 100 Thieves? Pretty much really great conversations, and super smart guy, team's great, and I got to learn a lot more internally from them. And then pretty much I think like 3 weeks online, ready to jump the gun and get me signed and like start the role. And then that's around the time when the pandemic hit, when the NBA shut down and things started to like go on pause for a bit. And then at the time, I'm like, hey, for sure, an intern is the last thing you're thinking about right now. like, let's slow this down. And like, you guys are probably all going to work from home and doing all that jazz. Everybody's trying to figure their life out. So let's chill for a bit. Right. And then as things panned out, Trump, he put a hold on visas for a bit. Obviously, they didn't want people coming across the border. And then that was on pause for a bit. And then visas were shut down for the rest of the year, like in mid-June or July. I'm not sure, like one of these months. And effectively, like I was talking to 100 Thieves throughout this entire process. They're like, yeah, that's tough because we need a visa to hire you legally, obviously, as a big company. We can't just do some like, under the table stuff. So unfortunately, that opportunity is on pause for right now. But it's still cool because I'm still talking to them. Like I hit this guy's line, and then I can get a conversation going with him, like just checking and stuff. And that op is still on the table. When am I going to LA and doing that op? I don't know. that's been interesting. But throughout this whole process, although I'm not in LA this summer, I've gotten so much out of it, and it's helped me so much in my early career, and I'll continue reaping the benefits for I don't know, like times to come.
That's an incredible story, and I really enjoyed hearing the full video. Yes, there does a great job of keeping it kind of like Vine, and David Dobrik, who we'll talk about, where they make their whole videos pretty engaging the whole way through and leave out some of those details, and I really appreciated hearing them. So what happens when Yes Theory does publish that video? So I just checked before this. They got 923,000 views on the video about your video. I don't know how many views your video itself has, but what happened when that came out a few weeks ago?
Right. So initially, obviously, the tweet, when everything went viral, I got so much attention, and I didn't cash in too much on the attention, right? I wanted to keep things like one-on-one with 100 Thieves. I didn't want to be like, hey, I'm talking to all these other companies too when I made a job application for your company. I just, in hindsight, maybe I could have done that, but obviously, I didn't want to do that. So that was cool. And then when the pandemic hit, everything slowed down a bit. But then Yes Theory ended up publishing the video like a couple months later. That gave another whole round of attention and virality to it. And people saw the behind the scenes video. They're like, wow, this is a crazy story. This is awesome, right? And I got a whole lot of other attention. And for people to see the entire behind the scenes and like the whole story behind it was very cool. And I had just a lot of people reach out to me saying like, wow, this is awesome. Let's talk about it, right? Like, let's see what happened. Like, let's see where I can help you, right? Like, we know you're employed. So, and you're like, just seeing from what like you've done in the video, like you seem like a guy that wants to hustle and do stuff. So like, let's talk. So
these are people in the industry, like other gamers, media brands, like in that space.
Yeah. A lot of cool people reach out in DM, and even now, like I have the tweet pinned because I just like, call me a cloud chaser or whatever, but like it summarizes my story to people that I'm reaching out to, at least in one tweet or in one video. Like I can't, I'm telling my story right now, but Yes Theory does an amazing, hell of a job telling my story way better than I can in that like amazing, like world-class produced video on their channel. So obviously I'm gonna have it pinned, and just having that there makes people curious. Like, hey, like that's sick. Like, what this guy's story, like what is he up to now? Like, what does he want to do? What's the next 6 months looking like for this guy? Like, how can I help, or like how can we collab or do something, right? So from what I said, like although I didn't get the job with 100 Thieves, right? Like this whole op and all this whole story that I have for myself, I'll keep the rest of my life, and will be something that I'll be able to tell to somebody that, that I just want to talk to, or that, I want to make something happen with. So
how significantly on a scale of 1 to 10 do you think this experience has changed your life?
Dude, great question. Definitely a 10. It's, it's like in a lot of ways, right? And also in one way where it really got me out of my shell of having like an online presence. I'm still not the best at this, right? And like there's like, I look up so much to YouTubers and people that put themselves out there and create content and do stuff, because it's a lot of work to create a platform and go under the scrutiny of like public light, right? And being scared of like, hey, like like people are gonna judge me regardless of what I put out, right? And like I'm saying this as a person that has started to use Twitter a little bit more. And I'm not even like doing the TikToks. I'm not even doing the YouTubes right now. I'm not even like putting my full self out there. I'm just putting out text, right? Like for now on Twitter, right? But it's really showed me the power firsthand of what it's like to put yourself out there and to learn in public and to, like try to make things happen in public. And because I've witnessed that and sat through an insane experience to that, right? It's I know for the rest of my life or my career that was what I'm going to strive to do because of the results that I've gotten from this one experience.
Absolutely love that answer. Learning in public, that's huge. That's a lot of our goal with this podcast is, we learn from these conversations. Hopefully whoever's listening picks up from them. And that's a huge way to just get more value out of the activities that you're already doing, if you're willing to share them. So incredible story. Again, so glad you shared it with us. And I want to kind of get a little bit more reflective, is that a word appropriately here, about what kind of the takeaways that you want to share from it are. So let's do a little segment now on how you have learned to use Twitter for networking, a little bit of like action-packed tips for people, the advantages of Twitter for networking, when to use that, when to use LinkedIn, and some strategies.
Yeah. So personally, like I've been using LinkedIn for, all my undergrad career, and it's been good to, do the cold reach outs, right? Like the internal DMs, one-on-one, and like connecting with people that you're not connecting with and sending a message and stuff. But Twitter is literally a whole nother game where like you said, learning in public is the perfect place to do on Twitter, and taking that and moving into the DMs and trying to make things happen while you're learning in public is great. I just find on LinkedIn that it's harder to be your authentic self on LinkedIn. I'm sure a lot of people do this, but it's just tough when everybody is, I'm not like, I don't want to shit on people on LinkedIn, but like
everyone's buttoned up.
A, everyone's buttoned up, but B, everybody's like, oh my God, I did this, right? And they do this entire thread with like that, and they hit the enter key like 50 million times, and like it's a story about like how I did this and like why I made an amazing hire, and just it's all boost, right?
This reminds me of that meme that's like, it's like your Instagram profile picture, your Twitter profile picture, like LinkedIn's like you're all the way buttoned up, like looking.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. I'm sure a lot of it is valid, right? A lot of founders and a lot of people like, doing cool stuff. Like, yeah, like they've done these things, right? Which is awesome. But I don't know. I feel like it glorifies like people that want to become like thought boys, and people that want to become like, or that just want to like
a thought boy.
It's it's like term where people are like, oh, like this is principle that I stand by, and then like this is an example of me doing it, and then like there's always a call to action, and it's like agree or like what do you think, right? And then people like it's for like interaction in the comments and stuff, and it's like it doesn't feel authentic to me, right? It's like you're boosting yourself and you're talking about all these cool things, which is, I'm sure it's valid, right? If you do cool things, do it, right? But the culture on LinkedIn just promotes that, and I don't think it's authentic, especially for like young people like us that I don't know, man. People like that are like 30 or like 40, right? Like deep in the careers that I posted that. I'm sure maybe that's how you want to live, but we're young, like we're Gen Z, right? We like to fool around. Like the way I view business is a lot different now on Twitter. Seeing the people that I looked up to and like how they talk like regularly on Twitter, how they're the regular selves and how like their own personalities on Twitter, while like doing crazy things as well, is just it's so different, right? And I want to interact with people in the most authentic way possible, right? Like I don't think there should be like a barrier between, or like like a line drawn between like doing business and like your personal life and all that. But it's like, man, I don't want it to be like day and night, right? Like obviously if you're doing business, you have to speak more professionally and not like just and not say like stupid stuff, right, when you're in meetings. But at the same time, right, like I don't want it to be like, oh, this is like that meme, right, where this is me on Instagram, like partying with my boys, doing all this stuff, and then like this is my persona on LinkedIn, right? Like, oh, he's working in the bank, he's doing all these professional things, right? I just want to be like, my life is work, is play, is like my interests, right? And I think there's a way to combine it and show your true self, and that's on Twitter.
That's great. What are some of the specific strategies that you've been using? So I know you say you try to make it personal, right? So you contribute in public and then you form a more deep conversation in the DMs, or you have the notification set for certain people. What are some of those like things that people listening can go out and try for themselves?
For sure. So for the longest time, and it's worked countless of times for me, right, is let's say like there's some people that you really want to have a conversation with on Twitter, right? And you could DM them and they might see it, right? They might be like, oh, like for sure, this guy has a cool story, I want to reach out. But it's tough because I know a lot of people look up to them and they probably get a bunch of DM requests like every single day. Like, what makes me stand out? Like, what makes this guy want to help me, right? Like, what have I done for this guy for him to help me? Like, what value have I added to his life? Like, I'm a nobody to him or her, right? So what I've done is that like or try to do is that whenever people tweet about something like insightful, have like putting content on their Twitter, I try to add value to that. So I'll give you an example. Like someone's talking about something in gaming, right? Like maybe a deal that's happening in gaming. I like share my thoughts on it, right? As well in my own like not like the sucking up to them, but like in my own personal way to get a conversation going, adding value to the followers by like giving my opinion on something that they want to like have discussion about, and then hopefully they get attention on that. Hopefully there's a conversation built around that, right? And then to show that I can add value to this guy, and then bringing that to DM and saying like, hey, we talked about this in public. This is awesome. I know what you're building, and there's more of a connection formed when you're adding value to someone, and your initial your like main goal is just to be like, hey, how can I help this guy, right? Not like on LinkedIn it's all like, yo, take, right? It's like, oh, here's my story, like I'm a grad looking to break into this, like, can I get your thoughts, right? Or can I help you, right? And it's like, yeah, like there's people out there that are very great and just want to help people, but it's like, let's say if someone reached out to you, I like to use an analogy, like to the university that you're going to, like, hey, I'm thinking about going to this university, right? Can you help me? But if someone else is like, hey, I've done all this research, I've done the campus tour and all that, and I'm like very torn between these two, universities, like can you help me out on that front? And for someone that's done the research and like, add value to like both universities and like really like dug deep, like who are you more willing to help out?
You definitely are going to help the guy that's trying to push his car.
Exactly. So,
I mean, I think that really reflects as well in your actual pitch video. You said you had mentioned that you listened to our 2 episodes ago. That doesn't matter when I edit this and publish it. Our episode with Wes KO, she has this segment or this blog post about how to get an enthusiastic yes. And, it's not about, with every line that you write in an email or a pitch or a tweet, it's at the back of your mind, like, what can I say to make this person want to say yes? And the more it's about you and you and you, it's like they're less and less interested versus you demonstrating the research you've done in them, the campus tour, the book of theirs that you've read, the video that they made 10 years ago that you remember. All of that is more likely to catch someone's attention. And this is another part of this conversation that we've really been light on is you have, when you're applying to 100 Thieves, you have in your entire pitch video actual relevant experience, in that space from your previous experiences and other internships you've had and your knowledge about the sector and skills that are relevant to the position you want to have. Those are examples of, I'm not going to come here and you're going to have to teach me everything I need to do to start being a productive team member. I'm going to show up day one and hopefully be adding value in tangible, measurable ways. And that makes a big difference too. And when you go on someone's Twitter and respond in a way that adds to the ideas being generated or create something useful to the tweet and the conversation, that's more interesting than just, this is awesome, I'm a fan, So.
Exactly. No, you put it in a great way. Like there, as public figures on Twitter, or I don't even know if I want to call them public figures, but people that have like influence and have a following on Twitter, like there's bound to be a bunch of fans, right? That obviously want to get the attention of people, right? But if you're not doing anything to add value, there's just too many people out there. And even if there's one person that wants to help everybody, right? They physically can't. They have a day job, they have a Twitter to manage, right? They have whatever else they have in their life going on, right? But if you've done that like extra, your due diligence at least, and a little bit more, and then you do reach out, right? It's so much more likely for them to say yes. And to that point as well, right? Like another, I guess, not tip or like thing that I want to do or have been doing more is that once you connect with one of these people, like you get that yes, you get on the phone call, you have a productive conversation, right? And like, like things are magic's made. You have that connection in your network, right? I think a big thing that we like people like us can do early in our career when we don't have too much like insane value to offer, like based off of our skills or like things that we can do for a company, is just to connect people that we've met with other people, right? So let's say like I talk to some like exec in gaming that is trying to get into like the, I don't know, clothing space or something like that, right? And like I end up, I just know two people, one person in the gaming space and one person in the clothing space, and like I've talked to them on Twitter by like saying like, hey, you guys should meet and connect and just link them together. Zach likes to call it relationship brokering, dot connecting, whatever. You're coming from a place of like, hey, I want to add value to both of you, right? And it's all good intentions. And when you see that like relationship and they're going to be good friends, or like, something productive is going to happen there, why would you not connect them, right? And you get nothing in return immediately. and you shouldn't think of it like that. But to connect two people, and if they have a productive conversation to hit it off, and whatever ends up happening, technically both of them like owe you. You know what I mean? Technically both of them like see you like saying like, hey, wow, this guy helped me build this relationship. That's awesome, right? You're adding value to their lives for doing literally nothing at all, right? Just putting them in a group chat and saying like, yo, you guys should meet, and then whatever happens, right? Like not 100% of the time something will happen, right? But it all comes from like good value, and it all comes from you like trying to help others. And if something magical happens, that's like awesome. So
yeah, that's great. I love the way you think about that. And again, if you're creative, you can find ways to add value. And if you don't have a skill set or an audience of your own, but you have two people that might have something in common, dot connecting, as you put it, is a great way to find that value add. I want to transition now to what we call the bonus round, rapid fire questions. I know I gave you some of these in advance, but I didn't give you the order. So that's what keeps it interesting. You mentioned to us that you're a big basketball guy. All-time dream team, 5 starting line. Starting line, is that a term for basketball?
Saying starting
lineup.
Starting lineup, man. That's tough.
I'll go first.
Yeah, you go first.
This was one of my early tweets. Shaq's all 5.
Okay.
Shaq,
Shaq, and Shaq.
I love it.
That's a 35-foot lineup.
That is a powerhouse right there. Imagine facing 5 Shaq. They can just form a wall, and you can get through that.
Literally. So
that is funny. But my 5 all time. Oh man, obviously LeBron and Jordan are in there. I think I'd probably put LeBron at point.
Interesting.
LeBron at point, Jordan at shooting guard or small forward. That'd be a small man. It's hard not to put Kobe in there, but I probably will put him in there. Oh man. So you got LeBron, Kobe, Jordan. Like
he doesn't want to say Shaq.
I took Shaq 5 times.
You took Shaq 5 times.
There's no more than 5 Shaqs allowed, and it's all 5 of my Shaqs. And remember, this team has to be able to be competitive against the all Shaq squad that I assembled.
And I take Kareem.
Okay.
And I need a power forward.
Got to go with the man, Larry Bird. Come on.
Probably Duncan.
Okay, yeah.
Because Duncan's a winner, you know?
That's true.
Man, that's a tough. I'm leaving out like Magic Johnson and like Larry Bird, right? And that's tough, right? I don't have a pure guard, but I think LeBron is just so versatile. He can play whatever position he wants, and man, he's just the greatest athlete of our generation. And it's like to have him at point would be insane, you know?
Absolutely.
Just how tall is he? Like 6'9" or 6'8", like point guard. Most athletic, one of the most athletic guys in the game to run as a point guard. That'd be nuts.
He can do it all. He led the league in assists last year, I think, right?
Right. And to have 2 of the greatest scorers on your team, and Kobe and Jordan, and also, just insane big men. You have a winner in Duncan, and obviously most points ever in the league, and 6 rings, and
all that, and I'm still taking the all Shaq team.
Man,
but,
yo.
Next question
Shaq
here.
Threes, man. He can play whatever he wants now.
He can do that. He's a doctor. He's a DJ. He's an entrepreneur.
He's a rapper, man. He's everything now.
Yeah. Well, if you'd met Shaq, I'm sure he'd be the answer to this question. But
if I met Shaq and he asked me that question, I definitely say Shaq. I didn't want to.
Who's the most interesting person that you've ever met?
The most interesting person I've ever met. Why don't you guys go first?
My sister's pretty interesting. She ran a preschool for homeless children in Hawaii.
No way.
She was the caseworker for all the families. And so, yeah, she's not going to listen to this. But if she was, she'd probably be smiling right now. Alicia,
clip it and send it to her.
No, she's that's her test. She has to find it on her own.
That's amazing. Obviously, I think some of the most interesting people are people that I've met in the last 6 months, and I don't want to have a bail out and say like one of the Yes3 guys or like Zach or like
Alex.
But it's Alex, man, and I think it actually might be Alex. Honestly, like his story is just insane, right? To do that all, I know we're plugging the third door here again, but to do that all in 3 years from someone that was a med student, realized he didn't want to do med, and then had 0 business experience and end up doing all that from not knowing where to go is just insane, right? And he's only getting started. So
That's true. He is only getting started. I didn't even think about that. Like the dude's like, I don't think he's even 30.
Yeah, and
It's just nuts.
from that, I think he's trying to write another book again, and man, I can't wait for that one. So, yeah, I don't
I
know
think
what
that's
this
a
guy
fair
wants to do.
answer for
Yeah,
sure. I think that if
Yeah.
I had met him, I'd probably say
He'd
him
be in the
too.
running for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But to a little side point, man, like I just love stories and I love hearing stories of people, right? And it doesn't have to do with anything about gaming or anything that I like, but I think the whole world is built on stories, and I kind of want to live like my life like that, right? Just like optimize for like cool stories, right? And Alex is a person with really cool stories, right? And storytelling is such an amazing skill. He's such a good person, like guy at that, and that's something that I want to build. Whether if it's for a personal, just telling stories to my friends, or like like to build my career, or to build an audience and to tell stories on YouTube and Twitter on whatever platform. I think our world is built on stories, and he's a guy that has a lot of stories.
I think that you would like, little side note, Jesse Itzler. He talks a
Yeah.
lot about building your life resume. And like it's kind of the same thing. It's like you want to be able to tell yourself a really cool story, so go do really cool things.
That's Jesse right there.
There you go.
What
Lewis
book
has
is that?
always got a book on him.
Lewis always pulls out books on camera.
He spent a month with David Goggins and a month with monks and wrote a book about both of them. Okay, next question here. What
LeBron
fact-
James said it was hilarious. So
Oh yeah,
Dream Team approves.
There we go.
I did not know that LeBron James gives blurbs, but apparently he does. And he found it Living with the Seal by Jesse
Big
Itzler.
vouch, baby. That's a big vouch.
Yeah, for
For a
sure.
big
Talk
guy.
about clout.
Yeah.
Can I say next question?
all time?
What's that? Say that again.
Favorite COD game of all time?
What's Call of Duty for
Man.
the uninitiated?
That's either Modern Warfare 2, which is my first Call of Duty that I started on, and the OG in like the golden days, or Black Ops 2 and I think that was the era that I ended up playing the most. So for those that don't know, like Black Ops 2 is when like competitive Call of Duty really took off, and honestly that's like the time when I really started watching like Nadeshot and like the pro Call of Duty scene like heavily. So those are both just great games. And even the Call of Duty right now, like I stopped playing Call of Duty after like Black Ops 2, which is like what, I don't even know how many years, like 8 years ago, 6 years ago, but jumped back into it this year, obviously the quarantine, and like Call of Duty has become like super relevant again and part of pop culture. Like you see a lot of like the star basketball players playing it, celebrities playing it and stuff, people streaming it, and like it's hitting like all-time numbers again, and in terms of like watch time and even like sales for the new game. And it's great to see because I've grown up on this game.
Awesome. Question I have for you, the creator space in general. You said you want to shout out some creators you think are on the come up right now and about to hit the next round of inflection points in their career, and some reasons as to why that might be. And I was just going to give you a chance to explain some of your predictions on that real quick.
Yeah, so I have a couple in like the gaming Call of Duty scene, but like
we'll call it fantasy YouTube.
Yeah. I want to give a huge
instead of fantasy football, Kyle, like fantasy YouTube.
A huge lookout on this one guy.
He gets it now.
Yeah. I love a great underdog story, and I love a great like come up story, and I think everybody, just even in like music and like sports, it's just like, oh, I was there before he hit like 1 mil. I was there before he became famous. I listened to this rapper before he blew up and became mainstream, blah, 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 right? This is one guy that's actually blowing up right now, but still not like, he should be at 1 mil plus easily right now. But this guy named Eric, like spelled like air and then rack on YouTube. His name's like Eric. But I'm gonna try to summarize this like as easily as possible, but his story is insane. Pretty much, he's making videos on YouTube, pretty good videos, right? Like they're good fun, like sneaking into places and doing like funny stuff with his friends, all that jazz. And then he wanted a job with Logan Paul, so he ends up thinking of this idea as like, okay, I'm gonna sneak into the Jake Paul fight. I don't know who he was fighting at the time. I think Gibb, and I'm gonna pretend to be the zone reporter, and I'm going to go to Logan, be like, yo, can we get an interview? And then like pitch him like my YouTube and pitch him like, yo, like this is why you should hire me for a job. So he ends up doing that. Goes to Logan, halfway through the interview, Logan's like, you're not actually the zone reporter, are you? He's like, yeah, I'm not. Here's why I'm here. And Logan's like, wow, that's impressive. Like, let me take down your info and we'll talk. Pretty much Logan ghosts him, doesn't get back to him. And then this guy's like, okay, no, like we're making this happen, right? So he sneaks in a damn Blazerian party because he knows freaking Logan's gonna be there. Like he's like from Atlanta, but he flew out back to LA just to make this happen. Sneaks in the Dan Bilzerian party, sees Logan there. Logan's like, "What the heck are you doing here?" Right? He's like, "Yo, I'm trying to get a job, bro. Like, what's up? I'm trying to join the Maverick team." Logan's like, "Wow, that's impressive. We'll speak after the party because this is a party right now. Like, I don't know what to tell you." So Logan doesn't get back to him again, and then this guy's like, "Okay, we're making this happen though. We're making this happen for sure." And all at the same time, he's posting this all on YouTube, right? He's trying to make this all happen, and he's creating a great audience of like literally him trolling Logan Paul. Or not trolling, but like it kind of looks like trolling. So he listens to the Impulsive podcast, finds out that Logan's trying to sell like his couch. It's like super expensive couch. It's like 90 grand, right? And Mercedes-Benz couches, right? And he finds a listing for it. So he ends up pitching a company on this brand deal by saying like, "Hey, you give me this money to sponsor my video, and I'm going to go buy Logan Paul's couch, right? And I'm going to show up at his house, and I'm going to be like, hey, you ready to take a meeting with me or what? Like I'm hustling out here, right?" So that's exactly what he does. He goes to the listing of Logan Paul, like talks the price down to like, I think 20 grand or something. And then he's like, "Okay, I'm ready to buy," right? And then he pulls up in a truck to Logan's house, like his mansion, right? And he like steps out, right? And Logan's like, "What?" Right? He's like, "This does not make sense, right? This does not make sense. What is going on right now?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm just here to buy a couch. Like, what are you talking about, right?" So long story short, he gets a meeting with Logan, right? And I don't know what came from it, but ever since he bought the couch, he ended up getting a lot of collabs with like big YouTubers, like, I don't know, Jake Paul, Face Rug. I don't know who else he's collabed with. I think he's talked to Yesterday a bit, just doing stuff, right? And he, from that, like it's crazy because it's like, I think I hustle. I think a lot of my friends hustle, but that is literally like, if that's not hustling, what is, right? And through that, he got boiled credibility from like doing all that stuff with Logan. And I guess, like, I don't know if he's working for his team or not right now, but he got a lot of collabs with like Logan and his extended network. And now he's on his way to just making content and like just blowing up on YouTube just based off this like one insane story, and rightfully so, right? And he's gotten mentorship from, you know, insane YouTubers and stuff. And now he's just making insane content from his YouTube and reinvesting all this money that he's made. So I just love that story so much because A, he's super underrated and he's blown up, but he hasn't blown up enough. So I just want to see where this whole story pans out. And B, it's just super relatable because it's like, it's this guy that literally before he reached out to Logan Paul, he was at like 1.5K subscribers, like something small. And like through that whole story and journey, he's blown up to like 500K right now, and he's just getting started. So it's like, I don't know if that's what I want to do, like become a content creator, but like this, like the principle itself of like turning nothing into something is just, it's like, it's such an amazing story to me. And man, I think this guy's up next, man. This guy's up next.
We'll have to shoot him a cold email. Just
shout out that guy. Definitely gonna have to get him on the pod.
Huge vouch, huge shout out. He doesn't even know who I am, but like man, it's great, man. It's great. Like he has an amazing story, and
that third door is real.
Yeah, he embodies the third door principle right there. If that isn't, then I don't know what is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, appreciate that answer. I'm going to give you one last question. Any parting advice? Any last takeaways from this journey and story and last couple of turbulent, exciting months of your life just to leave the listeners with?
Yeah, for sure.
Call to action, maybe even.
Yeah, like, look, I'm just getting started in my career, right? Like I have all these things that I want to do, but I haven't, like, the journey's just starting, right? But I think the biggest thing right now, like for people just starting on in the career, is optimize for people, right? I think one of my mentors say that like people are the ROI of life, and I genuinely believe that, right? Like,
that's sick.
As a business student, right? Like you have so many opportunities to come out right now and like get a decent paying job or a high paying job, right? But like, no, is that really what you want to do? Like this early on in your career, like just get locked up into like a job that, you know, like could pay a lot really well, but is it really optimizing you for your learning, for your network? And I hope that everybody thinks that way, because that's certainly how I think, right? And like people that you meet right now early on your journey, and to see like some person that's super young and trying to make something happen, it's just there's no better time to take risks and like, you know, do that right now. So I just think right now, like I'm a huge person on Twitter. Every single day I'm still trying to reach out and like talk to people that are, I guess, way out of my league, for lack of a better term. And through all of that, I think hopefully I can manifest like an insane opportunity that is hidden and that isn't like, you know, a job that's published on like a website right now. And I think very early on in people's careers, people should just optimize for meeting cool people because you don't know what could come of it down the line. So to summarize that, man, just you know, meet cool people, try to add value to people that you look up with, and roll along with that because you don't know what's going to happen.
Well, this has been super fun. I'm super glad you said yes when we reached out to you. Loved watching your videos. Said I've got to talk to this guy and hear the whole story. The hustle and the energy is contagious. Glad to be on your Twitter. Hope we stay in touch next couple of years, see all the exciting opportunities that you create for yourself, man, and what comes out of it.
I'm so excited to see what you guys take with this, man. And like right back at you guys, like this is literally the embodiment of like reaching out to people and trying to like add value to them. This is such a huge value add. Like you allow people to come on here and tell their story, right? And you guys aren't asking for much in exchange, right? But you're meeting so much people through this process and you're adding value to them. Like you can connect people now with this platform. You can use this platform to, you know, just share people's stories and maybe when opportunities come back down the line with these people, like you guys might be the first people that they think of or reach out to because you've added value to them in the past, right? So I love what you guys are doing. It's sick.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. It's been great.
And that wraps up our conversation with Ivan. That was really cool to hear him talk about Yes Theory and what that experience was like, as well as to kind of pick his brain on Twitter and, you know, adding value to others and using adding value to others' lives to make your own life better. What do you think, Liz?
Yeah, I mean, you're completely forgetting the piece where he met Alex Benayan, you know? It was like episode 4 or 5 of this podcast where you're like, this little book by Alex Benayan, it's so sick, you should read it, Lewis. I did. We've talked about it a lot, and we brought someone on the show who actually was helped by Alex Benayan to use a custom third door strategy to get a dream job. So super exciting experience for us just to be, you know, one node closer in that network to eventually maybe meeting Alex one day. But Ivan was awesome, super fun guy, love his energy, love his enthusiasm, love the way he thinks about solving these problems and being willing to go big, to go after what he wants. If you all enjoyed this conversation and want to support the show, the number one most important thing for you to do to help us out is to leave a rating or review on iTunes. That's the most significant factor by far in terms of getting the show to reach new people, looking more credible, so that potential guests say yes. It's bar none the most helpful thing that you can do for us. Otherwise, if you want to keep in touch with us, we're reachable on social media at Lewis Kyle Show or something pretty similar on just about every platform. You can also find Kyle or I individually using our names, which hopefully you can figure out. Anyway, thank you for listening. We'll see y'all in another week with the next episode. Stay safe. Bye.